The words hang in the air, a heavy weight. I stare blankly at them.
Is she hallucinating too?
Blankly, I stare.
I.
A dark shadow eclipsed Papa's face. Fake. A tear-stained mask. Its stifling coldness paralyzes me.
I. I killed her.
Distressed. Defenseless. It looked so much like the troubled sleep of an anxious child. I want you to tell me more about her.
Also, is this music loud for anyone else?
Why is the sound so big? Why is the... Jesus. Holy moly.
There we go. Alright. Return.
My words do not reach him. He cannot answer, but I want him to listen. Her favorite foods, the little things that peeved her off, whether or not she was a morning person. My consciousness begins to flicker wearily as the day catches up with me. Even if it's little things like that, I want to know all about her. Why? Even though I was sitting right next to him, he felt so far away. Sarah Fenzel. Fighting against fluttering eyelids, my eyes find Papa's upturned hand. What type of person was she? I rest my palm in his, noting absent-mindedly how soothingly cold it feels. My hand so small compared to his. And what happened on that day? For some reason I was certain. A golden dream waited for me beyond the encroaching darkness. Perplexed, I tried digging through my memories. Last night I fell asleep in Mother's room. Papa probably carried me to my room afterwards. I remember being gripped by a strong conviction that I'd returned to the golden dream, but that couldn't be right. I always remembered what happened in the golden dream as clearly as my waking hours, but right now I couldn't recall a thing.
Let me just, turn that down, no big deal.
A gap in my memories. Distraught, I twist and turn in my sheets, trying to breach the thick clouds swirling in my head. But in the end, I couldn't produce an inkling of insight into what had happened. There's no point going round in circles anymore. Slipping out of bed, I wander over to the window and place my hand against the cold glass. The mellow atmosphere of a rainy day usually soothed me, but today it felt strangely oppressive. As one that relished the feel of the rain's kiss on my face, it mystified me how much the light patters unsettled me. The rain outside wasn't too heavy, but somehow it felt like the earth was drowning under the downpour. I should get going. Descending the stairs to an empty house, I don my rain gear and set off into the falling rain. A little rain shouldn't be enough to deter us. We always meet up to play on Saturday mornings. Today shouldn't be any different. The thought helps lighten my mood as I proceed down the puddle-lined path. I want to see everyone's faces. Before long, the Rue household fades into view, emerging from a curtain of mist.
Aw, shit. That's not good. We know mist is like a bad thing in this game.
Something was wrong, though. Standing before the cabin's dark outline under the falling rain was a solitary figure. A figure so still they seemed to blend into the very landscape. A knot of deep unease sinks to the bottom of my gut. It was Noletta. Unblinking, unmoving. She just stood there. Noletta. Upon drawing closer, I find her clothes to be completely soaked through. How long has she been standing there, utterly exposed to the elements?
Man, what good are clothes if they're supposed to be exposed to the elements too? Like, if they're gonna... I said...
Vacant and unfocused, Noletta's eyes stared through me, looking at something far away, like the glass spheres of a discarded doll. Noletta, aren't you cold? I reach out and grasp her hands. Cold, clammy. Her skin had chilled immensely from being exposed to the falling rain. Noletta. A sharp throbbing within my chest. I realized it hurt. It hurt to see her like this. Let's get you inside. Gently tugging on her, I led her back into the cabin. Inside, I find Brussel huddled in the corner of the room, his head cradled in his hands.
Oh no, did he fuck up another batch of soup?
Noletta had fallen into a catatonic state, but unlike her, he was trembling uncontrollably in a spell of mania. While I was concerned about him, I needed to prioritize treating Noletta. I had no idea how long she had been out there. Stripping off her wet clothes, I wipe her down thoroughly with a towel and drape a blanket over her. Tss, 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 tss. As I go to light the stove, though, a stifled scream makes my heart catch in my throat. Reacting to the stove's glowing embers, Bressel presses his body against the wall. Unable to retreat any further, though, he lashes out frenetically at the nearby furniture before slipping and slamming against the ground. That's when I notice. From the arms he was cradling desperately against himself, something dark was dripping onto the floor below. Illuminated under the stove's flickering light, his fingernails produce a wet squishing sound as they scrape out more of the dark, dripping fluid. He was gouging out his own
fucking flesh! Oh shit! Oh!
Stars begin to swirl in my vision as I'm knocked to the ground with such force I momentarily black out. Undeterred, I get up and try once more to hold him down, but unable to bridge our size difference, I'm blown away like an errant leaf. I have to stop him. He's already lost so much blood. Rising on shaking legs, I stumble forward again. But before I can reach out, my legs give and I crumble to the floor. Bressel. At that moment, something happens. A pale white hand extends from the darkness, wrapping around Bressel's head and covering his eyes. I'm here.
Noletta. Noletta.
I'm here. Weakly, feebly, Bressel collapses to his knees, but Noletta does not let go. I'm here. Where are you, Bressel?
I'm here. I'm here too.
Reaching down with her right hand, Noletta touches Bressel's trembling fist. As if cast with a spell, the shaking stops in the two intertwined hands, his bloody clawed hand in her frigid porcelain hand.
The darkness is nibbling at me again. It's biting me. It never stops biting.
It's okay. I'm here. We're both still here, so it'll be okay. As if grasping for a lifeline, the two tightly clasp hands. Perhaps because I hit my head too hard, it takes a while for me to come back to my senses. Pulling myself off the ground, I take the opportunity to douse the stove flame while Bressel's eyes are shielded.
Or you could have just turned it off, what?
When I return to check on them, I find the two sprawled out, fingers still intertwined as they slumbered. With a sigh full of many different emotions, I crouch over Bressel with a first aid kit I had recovered from the kitchen. That's when I hear the sound of the cabin door opening.
So, this was something that I found very bizarre in my first playthrough of this game. She sees a dude, and I'm gonna have to put a trigger warning on this episode, right? But she sees a dude hurt himself, and she's just like, kind of unfazed. Like, her whole thing is just, oh, stop! And then, oh, whoopsie, silly me, I got pushed because this guy's bigger than me, you know, like, and, like, it doesn't, she doesn't go, like, she never really has any of it cut deep on her, right? She's not like, what the fuck was that about? And we never really see her get maladaptive or anything like that for the rest of the game, before it starts to go into the perspective of, Kalia's mom. I mean, what? Spoiler! It's as I feared. Looks like it was particularly nasty this time as well.
Though his timing could have been a bit more ideal, I was relieved he was here. Could you give me a hand patching Bressel up? I'm having some trouble here.
Your hands are all smeared with blood, Charlotte. So are Charletta's. Bleeding on young girls is a bad hobby, Bressel. Bleeding on young girls is a bad hobby, Bressel.
Mr. Domalor shakes his head in disapproval as he washes, disinfects, and dresses Bressel's wounds with practiced ease. Something like this must be child's play for a seasoned war veteran like you. His composure and expertise were on an entirely different level.
I'm impressed at how calm you are staying, Shahada.
Yeah, literally me too. I think weary describes my current state better than anything else.
In any case, Bressel should recover from his injuries without any lasting damage beyond some scar tissue.
It had been difficult to tell in the darkness before, but now that I was able to take my time, I realized there was a lot less blood in the room than I initially thought. Mr. Domalor and I spent some time cleaning up before carrying the Rue siblings to bed and making them comfortable. Talk about maintenance.
Annalise said it, not me.
Even now they were both stubbornly clinging to each other's hands. In order to leave their right hands connected, we had placed Brestle in a pretty awkward position on his stomach. It was almost unfair how comfy Noletta looked, all curled up under the sheets. Oh well. Letting the tension leak from my body, I settled down next to Noletta and watch on as her chest rises intermittently in concert to her breaths. Mr. Domalor, I have some questions I'd like to ask about these two. While I had refrained from prying too much before, things had changed with this last incident.
I'm not certain if I can give you any answers, but continue.
I take some time to gather my thoughts before proceeding. Before, you were talking like you knew this could happen. You knew the cause behind these episodes, don't you?
Indeed, you're not mistaken.
Will you tell me why this happened, then? Mr. Domalor goes quiet as he mulls over what to say.
To explain what happened, I'll have to go into their past, which I'm afraid I cannot do.
You don't think I have a right to know after this experience?
My apologies, but the young master has explicitly instructed me not to tell you anything.
I'll have to get creative if I want to parley with Mr. Domalor. Let me approach this from a different angle, then. Noletta spends just as much time under my care as Brestle does under yours. Any information you withhold is that much less I'm equipped to deal with should a crisis arise while I'm with her. Damn, this girl's like 10. The fuck?
It is true that you're the closest one to Charlotta after Brestle.
While Brestle might have you around if something goes amiss, who can Noletta depend on if something happens during the day? For the sake of Noletta's well-being, I insist that you tell me what you can. I make a point of staring firmly into Mr. Damalor's eyes as I assert my position.
While your reasoning is sound and your proposed course of action is indeed the most prudent, I cannot disobey an order by the young master.
By the way, is he referring to, her dad? Or is he referring to Brestle? See, it would be pretty obvious to see that he's referring to Brestle. Because Master is usually, like, young Master is usually often referred to, like, just fucking young kids a lot of the time. But I thought Domalor was, like, the right-hand man of, Adelise's dad. What's his name again? I'm fucking blanking on his name. Fucking matricide mother killer over here, you know what I'm saying, dog? It's all good. There's no need to worry on that front. Papa's already decided to stop hiding things from me. He told me last night he was the one responsible for my mother's death. Mr. Domalor falls silent. With cold eyes, he scrutinizes my face as if gauging the wall behind my words, the will. But I don't let a sliver of weakness show.
I see. Very well. I shan't disclose any details on your mother's death.
Yeah, that's for the sequel, I guess. Because we don't even get to, like, the rest of it in the rest of the game. Instead, the rest of the game is told from the perspective of Kalia's mom.
It is not my place to tell that story, and I will tell you what I can about the Rue siblings.
Having successfully negotiated a favorable outcome, I let myself relax a bit.
To understand the Rues, what they went through, it is important to understand certain bits of Socotrine's history. Are you aware of where the Master's Revolution occurred?
I learned in school that the old aristocracy suspected the UL refugee convoy would attempt a coup. The preemptive strike they launched against the UL convoy was the trigger for the Master's Revolution.
All that is true, it is not the full story. Relations between the old aristocracy and the UL convoy were congenial at first. Relations between the old aristocracy and the UL convoy were congenial at first, but the situation became strained when the two parties were unable to come to a consensus on one issue. That is, Socotrine's closed-world dilemma. While the old aristocracy had several factions with different ambitions, they were all united in one desire alone. A way to break the cage of mist that encircled Socotrine and expose the lands that lay beyond. That was what they wished for, more than anything else.
Is that so? It echoed a desire I carried in my heart, a desire Mother once held as well.
The true catalyst behind the Master's Revolution stems from the old aristocracy's obsession with breaking Socotrine's closed-world dilemma. The Veloran Master's refusal to assist in this endeavor despite having led the UL convoy to Socotrine was a point of great contention. However,
Even after the Master's revolution, there remained influential factions in Socotrine, and even the UL convoy that wished to resolve Socotrine's closed world. Under the heavy pressure, Master maintained her hardline stance, but was eventually forced to capitulate on one front. A research endeavor into the properties of the reality-distorting mist that encircled Socotrine. Its name was Project Benar. Its primary objective, investigating the effects of Socotrine's mist on the human body through extensive testing.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I remember now. Now I know why Brussels and Noletta are so effed up, and why they have white hair. Anybody read the books Maximum Ride? Well, that's what you're in for. Only like 100 times more traumatized. The ramifications of Mr. Damalor's words strike me with almost painful clarity. Are you telling me Noletta and Bressel were subjects of human experimentation? There's no one as trusty as Mr. Damalor, right?
No, the young master has always been averse to the idea of employing house servants. But for a brief period of time, the Coutard household actually did try employing one. While they were cleaning, however, they made the grave error of tampering with the books in your mother's study. I do not know if you remember as you were quite young, but you threw a terribly fearsome tantrum. Ever since, the young master has absolutely refused to entertain the prospect of a house servant.
Is that so? Well, I don't regret it, because that tantrum's one of the reasons you're always there for us, right? From my perspective, you're someone who has supported Papa and me for all my life. It's only natural for me to consider you family. Or are you going to try and say a young girl's heart is wrong?
No, but...
Tell you what, I'm going to go ahead and think of you as family, and you'll do the same back, because that's how these kinds of things work. You don't overthink them. Okay?
You can be quite unreasonable at times, Shawada. But your words do not ring hollow. I shall take them to heart.
So it's okay if we call you Grandpap from now on, right? Well, while we're at it, you should try smiling more.
You ask too much of me.
It's nothing to be embarrassed of, nope. So show us those pearly whites, Grandpap.
Please stop. I do not know how to deal with situations like this.
Grandpap, Grandpap.
In any case, I'll cook up a meal for these two and keep an eye on them, so feel free to take your leave.
You kicking me out? How mean?
No, but if I'm not mistaken, you usually meet up with your peers on Saturday mornings. It would be prudent not to keep them waiting.
That's true. Yeah. The adrenaline from earlier had long worn off, leaving my body in achy half-days. Too much had happened. It was wearing me thin. Hear me, Addie, here, Addie. Huh? As I trekked through the rain, I belatedly realized there's someone at my side. Oh, good morning, Addie. When she finally gets my attention, she swells with such delight I can't help but imagine a wagging tail behind her. Oh, it's Lorona. The familiarity of Lorona's greetings brings me such ease my legs almost buckle beneath me. Eh? Burying my head in her chest, I wrap my arms around her. Do you want a hug? I don't want to get you all wet, though. It's okay. Kind-hearted as always, Lorona lowers down and returns my embrace. What's the matter? Did something... Ah! When she's least expecting it, I blow a puff of air into her ear. You're so sensitive, Lorona. Anyone would react like that if you just blew into their ear all of a sudden. You're such a bully, Addie. Phew, that was a close call. Anyways, let's be off. We're already running pretty late. Wait up. Is Noletta not with you today? She's sleeping right now. Huh? I spent all morning trying to drag that sleepy-head out of bed. It's a shame. I had a great prank planned for her today, too. You shouldn't tease Noletta too much. She's so innocent she'll believe anything, you know? Though I know it's an offhand comment, I shudder at her words. The reason behind Noletta's naivete was heart-wrenching to think about. Well, anyway, this bitch's presence had a soothing aura to it that made you feel like you're doing your best. Thanks, Lorona. Our silly tete-a-tete had helped me gather the drive to brave the day. Huh? Did you say something? Mush. Mush? Mush, mush! There's no time to waste!
Why are we running? I don't understand. The revolution waits for no one, Lorona. Loronavirus! I'm so sore. I'm so sore after all that Loronavirus, you know? Oh, golly. Upon making it to the usual place, we spot a pair of rowdy twins splashing around. It seemed they were putting their rain boots to good use to make the most of the occasion. Noticing our approach, Kalia kicks one last geyser of rainwater at Triss before turning to us. You guys are late. You know how long we've been waiting here? And where's Noletta? Triss grudgingly wipes off his dripping raincoat as we're instantly barraged with a series of complaints. Noletta's not joining us today. She's glued pretty tight to her pillow at the moment. Her loss. Miss Faye said she had a special new story lined up for us today. I hope it's a nice and cheery one this time. No, she said to bring a pack of tissues so you wouldn't soak her nice furniture with your bawling again. Is it too much to ask for a happy ending? Welp, off to Miss Faye's place we go then. Yeah, enough dawdling. We've already wasted enough time.
Is that a reference to Don't Take It Personally, Babe by Christine Love? Anyway.
Let's go, go, go! Our destination locked in, Kalia skips ahead and urges us to start moving. Gotta go fast, huh?
That's clearly a reference to Sonic. If one were to behold our group from a distance as we went, they'd probably see a bit of a strange sight.
While Lorona and I strolled along the path like normal people, the Lyrit twins had other plans in mind. Kicking up streams of water everywhere they go, they hop to and fro like overactive bunnies. Kya! No, don't splash more! Naturally, we end up getting caught in the crossfire. I wonder, if Noletta were here, she'd probably be stomping up water spouts alongside the twins, dwarfing anything they made. Always imitating people, always so curious.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, honestly, you know, Noletta, honestly, to me, seems just like a tier either above or right below Alouette. Like, they seem like both very traumatized characters. Although we haven't learned yet of Alouette's trauma from the girl from the bakery. So,
laughter, cries, shouts. I watch on from the side, a lighthouse on a far shore. Under the cold rain of a dreary overcast sky they danced, lively and carefree. They danced in opposition to stagnancy, coloring over the monochrome world with their vibrant acts of life. But I was not there with them. My heart was in a different place, sitting in a dark room by a certain someone's side, watching as they slept. Wait for us, Noletta. Triggered by the door's opening, a little bell chimes out to signal that guests have arrived.
Triggered?
Miss Faye's abode was not a normal residence by any measure, a fact any entering visitor was immediately made aware of.
This is her house? Girl.
The first thing one ever beheld upon stepping foot in her home was the breathtaking sight of towering bookshelves sprawling up before them. It was no overstatement to say the Farrow household owned and administrated. Hello! Kalia's announcement of our arrival reverberates throughout the massive room.
Donk.
A sound like something hitting wood, followed by the racket of collapsing books. Rounding the corner, we discover Alouette swaying amidst a pile of fallen books with stars orbiting around her head.
Well, 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 speak of the devil.
Oh, you surprised, Alouette? Are you okay, Alouette? Didn't you hear the bell? Alouette had her head in the bookcase, so she didn't hear. Taking care not to step on any books, I pat Alouette on the head. Patapion, pain, go away. Hoa, thank you, Hattie. Aside from her job at the Morella Bakery, Alouette also held a job working here under Miss Faye. Dealing with such a hefty workload day to day, she's quite the workaholic, isn't she? They're all out of order now. Turning to the nearby shelf, Alouette begins the painstaking task of reorganizing the books in their proper order. Do you want us to help you out? It'll go faster if we chip in. But Alouette shakes her head. No, can't lend a hand. If not in right order, Belly will scold Alouette. Scold, scold. A voice speaks up from behind us as Alouette rather humorously impersonates an angry Miss Faye. I do not sound like that. Also, don't make it seem like I bully you all the time, Alouette. Miss Belisaria Farrow, the influential heiress of the old aristocracy house of Farrow. A crisply dressed woman with roseate eyes. She was childhood friends with Papa and the Laritz's dad, Atun.
Yes, this is important later. Kalia's dad is a guy named Atun who has yellow eyes. Anyway. Also, don't make it seem like a... Oh, yeah, I already read that.
She was also Mother's cousin, being one of the few that shared a close relationship with her.
Wait, what? Wait, hang on.
After we're done here, I'll stay behind. There were questions I wanted to ask her in light of what I had learned yesterday. Isn't it true that you bully Alouette all the time, though? Bullying's such a crude way to put it. There's more than one way for someone to express their love, you know. Belly loves Alouette, right? Yes, I do. Smiling wryly, Miss Fay ruffles Alouette's head. Ha, the books. Alouette is fixing the books. You can leave that for later. We have guests to accommodate now. They'd likely find tea and treats agreeable after their voyage through the rain. Uh-huh. Asking for a friend, but who made these treats that are coming? I did. What of it? Guess we're playing the lottery today. How rude. These are ordinary pastries, I'll have you know. I think Miss Fay's cooking is tasty, sometimes. Miss Fay was an enigma when it came to the kitchen.
That reminds me of Burger King's thing, where it's like, women belong in the kitchen. If they want to, of course, but only 20% of women are good.
While some of the best meals I've ever had were made by her hand, she also holds the title of serving some of the worst meals I've eaten in my life. Probably because she has a tendency of getting bored and turning the recipe into an experiment, adding insane things that make the food bubble, change colors, or even explode. I guess that's just her nature as head of Socotrine's Chemical Research and Development Department, or Royal Alchemist as she seemed to prefer, despite its datedness.
That's so dated, dude. I mean, our stoves, they're still like old style, like fire stoves that we have to douse instead of just turning the switch off, but called an alchemist, dude, come on. That is so 1950.